Iran publishes book on how to outwit the United States and destroy Israel. I wonder if Obama read it. By Amari Tahiri, New York Post. While Secretary of State John Kerry and President Obama do their best to paper over the brutality of the Iranian regime and force through a nuclear agreement, Iran's religious leader has another issue on his mind, the destruction of Israel. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a.k.a. the Supreme, has published a new book called Palestine, the Supreme Islamo-Nazi, a 416-page screed against the Jewish state. A blurb on the back cover credits Khamenei as the flag bearer of jihad to liberate Jerusalem. A friend sent me a copy from Iran, she writes, or he writes, I should say, the only place the book is currently available. Though an Arabic translation is promised soon, Obama administration officials likely hope that no American ever hears about it, so I want you to hear about it. This supreme Islamo-Nazi makes his position clear from the start. Israel has no right to exist as a state. He uses three words. One is nabudi, which means annihilation. The other is imha, which means fading out. And finally, there is saval, meaning effacement. Khamenei claims that his strategy for the destruction of Israel is not based on anti-Semitism, which he describes as a European phenomenon. His position is instead based on well-established Islamic principles. Now, let's stop right there. This is very interesting, isn't it? This is a man who heads a very large country. I think they have 75, 80 million people, not all of whom agree with him, many of whom don't, by the way. But he is saying that his terrorism is bound to his religious beliefs. Hence an Islamo-Nazi, as I call him, which is the most accurate nomenclature that you can assign to this. No, don't say it! Don't say it! Good God, can't you say something else? Don't say it! No, I speak the truth. Khamenei claims his strategy for the destruction of Israel, I already said that. One such principle is that a land that falls under Muslim rule, even briefly, can never again be ceded to non-Muslims. I'd like that for Americans. What do you think about that, Mr. Producer? Lands that fall under American control can never be ceded to anybody else. What matters in Islam is ownership of a land's government, even if the majority of inhabitants are non-Muslims. Now, Khomeineists, they write, are not alone in this belief. Dozens of maps circulate to the Muslim world showing the extent of Muslim territories lost to the infidel that must be recovered. These include large parts of Russia and Europe, almost a third of China, the whole of India, parts of the Philippines and Thailand. That's right. The whole world belongs to them. The whole world. There was never an Abraham. There was never a Jesus. No, the whole world. The Hindus, the Buddhists, the this and the that, go away. Now, however, according to Khamenei, Israel, which he labels as Adu and Dashman, meaning enemy and foe, is a special case for three reasons. The first is that it is a loyal ally, quote, of the American great Satan, and a key element in the, quote, evil scheme to dominate the heartland of the Ummah. The second reason is Israel has waged war on Muslims on a number of occasions, thus becoming a hostile infidel. Yes, self-defense. They should just give up, right? They should give up, and then what happens? Like the victims that come under the control of the Islamo-Nazis. Finally, Israel is a special case because it occupies Jerusalem, which Khamenei describes as Islam's third holy city. Really? Well, Tehran is the holy city of the United States Marine Corps. What do you think about that? You know what that means? He intimates that, why is it every city that this nutjob claims control over is a holy city? Oh, the holy city. This one's holy, that one's holy. None of our cities are holy, right? He intimates that one of his most cherished wishes is one day to pray in Jerusalem. One of my great wishes, ladies and gentlemen, is one day he'll be buried somewhere near Jerusalem, but not on his terms. Khamenei insists he's not recommending classical wars to wipe Israel off the map, nor does he want to massacre the Jews. What he recommends is a long period of low-intensity warfare designed to make life unpleasant, if not impossible, for a majority of the Israeli Jews, so they leave the country. His calculation is based on the assumption that large numbers of Israelis have double nationality and would prefer emigration to the United States and Europe to daily threats of death. Khamenei makes no reference to Iran's nuclear program, but the subtext is that a nuclear-armed Iran would make Israel think twice before trying to counter Khamenei's strategy by taking military action against the Islamic Republic. I mean, this is why Netanyahu and the Israelis, almost to a man and woman, are saying, don't enforce, don't execute this deal. You know, folks, we in the United States, we don't hear 99% of what this nutjob says. Our reporters are lazy. They're ignorant in English, let alone other languages. They want to cover for Obama. They want to attack anyone who opposes Obama and this agenda. We get a fraction of the actual information that's going on over there. And, of course, Obama doesn't even want us to have the official info. Oh, we have side deals. We don't know what's in them. Why not? Well, we can't disrupt that process between the UN and the Iranians. Of course we can. Besides, Mr. Kerry, you told them to do it. I am convinced of this. They let them make these side deals on their own. Threw up their hands, so we can't get this done at UN, and we know you're capitulators. You make your deal with Iran. And by the way, put it in a side deal, and then we'll say we can't read them. Khomeini counts on what he sees as Israel fatigue. The international community would start looking for what he calls a practical and logical mechanism to end the old conflict. See, he understands the UN. He understands Obama and Europe. He understands the appeasers, the losers, the surrenderers. He understands all of them. They're in it for the long haul. They've been around thousands of years. But so have the Jews. They've been around thousands of years, too. Now, the Jews in Israel, in terms of their survivability, their determination, they're not like the liberals here in the United States. Now, there are leftist socialist Marxists, yes, in Israel, but when it comes to defending their country, the vast majority of them understand. There is no tomorrow. You have to defend your country today. Not in our country. The liberals are, well, what's the deal? Attack the military, something wrong. We're the provocateurs. It's just not the same. Khomeini says the solution is a one-state formula. That state to be called Palestine. How many times have I said that this so-called two-state solution is a final solution for Israel? This Islamo-Nazi, he understands that. Khomeini boasts about the success of his plans to make life impossible for Israeli through terror attacks from Lebanon and Gaza. His latest scheme is to recruit fighters in the West Bank to set up Hezbollah-style units. We've intervened in anti-Israel matters, and it brought victory in a 33-day war, and he goes on. Describes Israel as a cancerous tumor. Really? I describe you as a polyp on a colon, may I say. Khomeini's book also deals with the Holocaust, which he regards as a propaganda ploy or a disputed claim. If there was such a thing, he writes, we don't know why it happened and how. This is a religious leader, keep in mind. This is what Iran's leaders are preaching to their people and their allies in the Middle East. Obama knows all this, but he doesn't care. It's the Israelis' problem. It's the Arab Gulf states' problem. It's the next president's problem. He's very, very busy, Obama. Next thing you know, they'll be off to Martha's Vineyard for a couple of weeks or 17 days. You'll see more pictures of him on bicycles eating ice cream. He gets away and he plays golf. Very, very busy, this guy. While he's nationalizing our suburbs, while he's destroying our industries, while he's usurping our Constitution, while he's changing America's demographics and culture. Oh, I saw another article earlier today. These experts are giddy. They're excited. They're left-wing. They're with these colleges, and they're saying, you know what happens by 2050, Mr. Producer? By 2050, over 30% of the population in America will be Latino. And when you add it to African Americans and Asians and Indians and Pakistanis and you add it, guess what happens? Guess what happens, Mr. Producer? Whites are in the minority. Yay! Finally! Whites are in the minority. What? Was ready to discuss everything from gun control to drones during a press conference in his Midtown office on Monday, except his position on the Iran nuclear deal. Is this guy oily or what? Not just his hair, but him. This is such an important decision that I will not let pressure, politics, or party influence me. You're a fraud and a fake, and everybody knows it, Schumer. It's not a difficult decision. What are you holding out for, pal? Just do the right thing and do it now, and don't do it quietly. Bring some more Democrats with you. Have the guts for once in your life to stand up to Obama. Schumer's come under mounting pressure from opponents of the Iran agreement, including many of the Jewish allies, his, to vote against it next month in Congress. One source said the normally thick-skinned senator, who's also feeling the heat from Democrats to back the deal, exploded during a meeting last week with about 60 Jewish leaders. Schumer lost it, said the source. Schumer's always lost it. He never had it. He's a hustler. He's an inch deep. He's power hungry. But for Schumer, this is a moral dilemma, ladies and gentlemen. Schumer, who fancies himself a supporter of Israel, Schumer, who fancies himself a supporter of the Jewish community in New York, or Schumer, who will step on anybody and stab anybody in the back to move up the political ladder. So for Schumer, this is a conflict. To do the right thing, the moral thing, or to serve his own purposes. And so it's a conundrum for the idiot. That's why he's exploding. I worked my whole life to be majority leader of the Senate. I worked my whole life. I stepped all over Durbin. I fooled that idiot Reid. I fooled the constituents, including the Jews in the New York area and the community that I represent in New York. Now what am I going to do? Now what am I going to do? Always a fraud. Pathetic. Shouldn't he be leading on this issue, ladies and gentlemen? Of course he should be leading. I'm not discussing this. I'm not going to allow political pressure to get in the way. How about your own political well-being? Now, in the end, he may do the right thing, but trust me, he'll only do the right thing quietly. He'll announce it. It'll be some self-serving statement, if he does it, and he won't bring anybody along with him. What Schumer should be doing now, as the number 2 or 3 idiot in the Senate, what he should be doing is working his butt off to stop this deal. But he's not. He's a coward. He's a fool. Mr. Producer, having said those wonderful things about Schumer, you want to try and get him on the show? I'm serious. Try and get him on the show. Contact his office tomorrow. I'm not putting any pressure on him. I want to know what his thinking process is. I know he loves us. I know the chances are very, very, very slim. But let's give it a good college try anyway. Let's see if we can get the Schumer on here and discuss this with him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now that you know political pressure drives this guy nuttier than he is already, you should call his office politely and civilly, no threats, or somebody will knock on your door from the federal government. Politely or civilly, call Schumer's office and say, why aren't you leading the battle to kill this disastrous arm Iran with nukes deal? Load up his phone, load up his email, as I say, be civil, be polite, but ask him. Plus, it'll drive him nuts, nuttier than he is. So it's a twofer, as we like to say.